No jokes, I had a dream where Arun was fucking stealing food off other people's plates. That's so fucking on brand.
I don't know if it was a dream, bro. I think it might have been just like the alternate reality.
Like a memory? A memory?
Something like that.
Oh, it's some like Doctor Strange 2 shit where that's
Yeah, something like that. That's exactly what it is. Alright, everybody see some fast gameplay for the first game because I'm not watching.
Daredevil, he's having a good time.
Don't worry about it. I ain't worried about it. That guy I'm worried about.
Which guy?
Wolverine.
Come, Herbie. Avenger. I am strengthened for battle.
Yeah, this Daredevil likes me.
Daredevil's back.
Because I guess he counters Invisible Woman pretty well, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay, he's still in the back line.
Oh. I'm dead.
By the shades of the Seraphim, I return.
A little help, please. Feel the pull. We can help you achieve your directive, Herbie. Force my hand. I am ready to put on a show.
Good
Enemy
medicine.
located. Logan, straight through you. Almost there. Don't turn back now.
I wish he got more Lord points if he like won the game.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that, buddy.
Friends, gather around. The vehicle reached a checkpoint. Keep up the momentum.
Cricket, no, cricket.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So counter. Oh, so counter. I might let the devil out, so I'm like that.
Of course you needed help.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Where's
Oh
Black
damn.
Cat? Is Black Cat dead? Wait, that wasn't Black. Oh, that's our Black Cat. Okay.
Where's just seeing red?
We can help you achieve your directive,
Not 'cause I heard the ult, but I didn't know which one it was. Positive
You're
was.
halfway there. Keep
Trying
going.
to keep the Black Cat alive.
Hostile ahead.
Nice.
Chin up.
I am strengthened
Wall.
for battle.
Almost there. Don't turn back now.
Power beyond sight.
Alright.
My hand.
Yeah, the captive point, bro. What the fuck? Get the devil out!
We're just a little bit like aggressive on him.
Kill us all. That's not good.
What do you think about those heals though? Yeah, when I can get that shield on multiple, I'm kind of like, I'm figuring out
I'm
invisible.
ready to
Like,
put on a
you
show.
can shield multiple people at once, it's kind of like sick.
Yeah, because you do just double output healing. or triple.
Yeah, it's absurd healing, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's good for Rudolph and shields too if you can do it.
Quite, yeah. If you're getting dough, you can kind of like use it to give yourself a little bit more health.
Yeah, and you can use it with the other healer too. You get your ability.
Yeah.
You can just
Castle went down fighting.
And now that I've gotten better with her, when I steal her abilities low-key, it's also like made me better that way.
Such newfound power.
Next, it might be White Fox.
honestly, it's pretty easy.
Say no more.
That's it. Don't let anything stand in
I
your
mean, so is invisible. I mean, it's just like small things you kind of like realize work.
Yeah, I mean, with most of the anything that's less complicated to be honest. The most useful part is probably like the alternate firing your ult. Does the invulnerability to a specific teammate. Almost sometimes just as useful if you get it on like Star-Lord or Wanda or someone and they ult.
Good medicine.
Also, how's my ult pistol again?
By
Damn.
the eye of Agamotto. Ionic magic.
Damn, I'm on a 20 kill streak.
Motherfucker said GG.
Another epic victory! Big win!
Big win.
I thought you said you were gonna play really bad the first one.
I mean, like, look at the rest of the team, bro. I didn't really have to do that much.
Your Wolverine was not a problem. Neither was theirs.
Yeah, maybe they just canceled each other out. Our Wolverine was the Black Cat, though. When they ulted, I think they.
I see. Yeah, they really like lost it. Okay? They kind of had us a little bit at the start, I feel like.
Well,
Yeah, when's the next time we're doing substances at your house?
oh, what?
When's the next time we're doing substances at your house?
Oh, substances. I don't know.
Yeah, I had like 6.
You'll need a top-notch
Yeah.
team to win this one.
Wind, cloud, and storm, hear my command.
So weather's getting better, and you know what that means. We have no choice but to do more substances more frequently.
You might be onto something.
Yeah. And when it gets cold, like to stay warm, you might
Stay
have to
warm.
drink.
You might
Yeah.
have to.
That's fair. Yeah, this is my main account.
Who's this person talking?
It's the Venom. Maybe they're like also streaming because I don't hear anybody else talking.
They're pretty much all like GM1 or Celestial.
And
30 seconds before you
her name
attack.
is Himiko.
The one that we're playing with her is GM2.
Oh,
Honestly,
really?
not the worst
Tell
username.
me how.
We got it.
I haven't watched
Super
today's
strict,
episode of
though.
The Boys.
Prepare yourself,
Have you?
friend.
I saw it. I
For I
watched it.
feared it's about to
I
rise.
think I
watching it,
just
so-
It's a
have
very,
good luck sometimes. And when I go on a win
different
streak,
episode, I'll tell you
I
that
stop
much.
usually. But
Interesting.
my friend
I
wanted
don't
to
know
play
if I- I
after
don't know
we
if
went
it's a
on a
good thing.
huge win
No, no,
streak.
it's like
and
director, cinematography wise.
Capture the mission area.
Ah, okay.
Like
Yeah,
it's more
no.
like
you will queue
you get like
and
each
queue
person's
and
perspective.
queue and queue and queue.
Oh, it's more of a
and
POV
queue.
Yeah, kind of like that. But it's like you get a lot more information about a couple things. But like a lot of it's more like character.
I lift up my comrade.
Overall, solid episode though.
I've always been a heavy hitter.
But yeah, it's a solid hour episode, hour long episode, you know.
I'm dying right to my sport.
Overall entertaining, very topical to the modern
I guess I
political
just didn't want to
climate.
get healed.
I lift up my comrades.
I look forward to it, and I do fuck with Sam Winchester.
Help get that vehicle to its destination.
Feels so calm. As if the wind.
The guy is, I think he plays Mr. Marathon.
Oh yeah. Oh, from
Supernatural.
Supernatural. Yeah. We have scenes together.
I know. I did hear it's a bit of a fan service to Supernatural fans, but I mean, I haven't watched it in a really long time, but I did like the show. Like, I watched it in like high school. Did you ever watch it?
No, but I heard a lot about it. It was like one of those shows that like were just on for super long. That was like, I don't really know if I'm gonna start watching this show right now.
Fair enough.
It's like at that
I
point,
watched Silent
I think like at that point I was watching like, you know, like the CW Arrow and Flash shows.
grow stronger.
So like that kind of went to like the same thing where it's like, yo, the first couple seasons are really good, it gets you invested, and then after a while it kind of just like keeps going. And then like I just lost interest, so I'm like, that's probably what happened is with Supernatural. That was just my opinion.
That's actually kind of exactly what happened. I liked it, but like they had a couple of seasons that were kind of.
There's a lot of shows that are like that, especially like
even like The Walking Dead.
Yeah, The Walking Dead. Like, but that has like fair spin off.
Feel the wrath of the goddess!
Disappear!
Be strong. I lift up winds. Carry us to Buddha.
Behold the god of thunder!
A little extra oomph.
You can move your shield out of this guy, but
Faster, my friend.
Almost there. Don't turn that now.
oh shit.
I lift up my comrades.
Yeah. Trying to get out of stuff.
I will not make the same mistakes again.
Shields up.
Probably didn't have to do that, but I was about to die.
Can I just stay in point?
The vehicle reached a checkpoint. Keep up the momentum.
A tiny boost. I lift up my comrades.
Oh hell no. This world is hopefully.
It's always nice we can find a ledge nearby when that ult comes around.
You can just stand on the point.
That too, yeah.
Feel the wrath of the goddess!
Yeah.
Alright, we just call him that.
I think she ulted. The Black Cat. Actually, no, she just cooked me.
Alright, well. I'm distracting the healers right now.
I'm getting there.
Christ, yeah, I'm dead.
That might be one of the first, like, Lord Black Widow deaths.
Andrew? Oh, you said Black. You meant Black Cat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. You know me and my, like, retardation.
Yeah, I think this might be the first.
Disappear!
Jeez.
I bring thunder. You're in my storm.
Christ, my aim, bro.
I know those ones. Yeah, but, yo, I pushed her away, but still she managed to, like, chain her way back to me.
By the eye of Agamotto!
I do have to wake up earlier, so I actually might get out. Probably play like 2 or 3 more. Jesus.
This storm never truly ends. I bring thunder.
Extra oomph.
I'm thinking if we can kill oh my god. Yeah, my last 3 deaths have been kind of tough. Solo ulted. Like just absolutely snuck up on.
Double KO.
Not looking good, not
Not
looking
make
good,
the
I'll say that
same. We are
much.
nearing
We got
Buddha
4
Cup,
minutes.
but not fast enough. Be strong.
Yeah, I think to target one person.
Yeah, I'll put it away.
Happy to help.
Gotta save like 2 lives.
Oh
my God. Even then, we should have got more of them in my opinion, but
I
whatever.
lift
No, no,
up
no,
my
we don't.
comrades.
We're good, we're good.
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Everything is A-okay.
We'd have to ult, which is kind of unideal, but whatever. 3 minutes.
They couldn't weather the storm.
Been a heavy hitter.
Yeah, we got 3 minutes. We're chilling.
Happy to help.
Oh, we're good. It's Joe, dude.
As if I wasn't sealed. Another
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have like 2 more in me. 7:15.
But a crazy episode of Survivor today, bro. You'll never guess who showed up today, bro.
Fuck. Don't tell me it's the man, the myth, the legend himself.
And who would that be?
I know it's like. I mean, I know you're talking about the gay Indian guy. His name's not like Batu.
No, I'm not talking about Banu, bro.
Fuck, I was so close. But
No,
shit,
like
I don't
a,
actually-
like an actual person, like an actual, like a celebrity, bro.
Who would go on Survivor? Yeah, that's tough. Okay, I have no idea, man. You gotta tell me.
Let me give you a hint, bro. You know how they win $1 million, bro?
Yeah,
He upped it to $2 million, bro.
Drake,
Now it's Mr. Beast.
You'll
Mr.
need a
B. Oh my
top-notch team
god,
to
Mr.
win this one.
Beast.
this rascal. The op.
Mr. Beast.
I am beyond my pitiful creator.
Oh, flex that Lord. Let him know.
You're gonna play the Avengers mode, bro?
What's the Avengers mode?
Just like you fight like a boss Loki, and you can only play as like the original 6 Avengers, so like Widow, Hawkeye, Iron Man,
I see.
Hulk, Thor, and Cap.
Probably not. I don't really play any of those shows, so I might not. But I'll give it a try eventually. So I haven't played that much these last couple of weeks, so I'm just gonna play regular.
You can play Iron Man, bro. Everybody can play
That's
Iron
true.
Man.
30 seconds before you
Oh, hey, I'm
attack.
almost Lord
Get
on
ready.
Iron Man.
High T-Cap. Oh my god.
Like levels.
You're leaking.
Like level 17 or 18 on Iron
No,
Man.
I'm not. And you are misbehaving like a child, Stark.
The epic might.
And you get this. The thing with Iron Man is I feel like he's so easily countered.
Sigh.
I mean,
I'm not
yeah, but
planning
that's like a
on
PvE
letting
game
you
mode,
live
bro.
mature anyway.
Honestly,
Yeah, I've seen it in
honestly, if you're
general.
good as Iron Man, it's probably
Three,
it's not that hard
2,
to
1.
figure it out. But maybe on controller, it's probably harder than on PC.
Prepare to engage.
I mean, like you get like Namor's, like No, not that it's impossible. It's just harder. I think it's easier to counter than others. Maybe shit. That's also like.
I think he's hard to counter. I mean, he's easy to counter, but he's also like hard to do depending on the map. Like if you're super far away, like the swords are gonna be a non-attack. You can just shoot them.
Much better.
Chill, Spider-Man. Chill, brother. Oh, I had a team on that. I had to.
This place is worth a good look.
Does Penny Parker set up like behind us, bro?
Yeah, I kind of noticed that too. I was like, where is she?
And Spider-Man is like helping protect that shit.
Oh, it's right here. Her bomb's killed me.
Yeah. Okay, boy.
I was trying to take it out, but then I died in the process.
Oh shit, yeah, they're making a lot of space now.
Yeah, right when we died.
That's
They need us. Oh, this guy's.
fake weasel, like the Pokemon. What do you spell it?
Hey, yeah, that is how you spell it. I felt with Weasel. I had Floatzel in my a lot of my platinum playthroughs.
There's still a chance to stop.
Although I should have ran like Gyarados.
Holy fuck.
Got that healing out, but
Okay.
no.
Shields up.
Out of 5 something to say about it.
What do you have to say about it?
A little bit.
I'm getting fucking tossed
mean-
around by Spider-Man.
They never stood a chance. Your shields are double kill.
Alright.
They hit a checkpoint. Now might be a good time to stop them.
Try to keep
It's okay. Our team just kind of sucks a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe 3 DPSs, probably not enough.
Leave them to Khonshu!
And I mean,
Ooh,
our tank is also Captain America.
Together to
that guy,
victory!
he's fine. That guy's fine. The Penny Parker might not be fine.
electronic web ahead.
Dude, Penny's a problem.
The mess is gone. For now.
That's nice.
Now it's
Okay, their white fox all there.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Oh, just fuck that Spider-Man.
Okay, I think our tanks might be locking in now. They're playing like they're tryhard characters.
There's still a chance to stop them.
They broke the nest. Our penny? Oh, we have a penny now? Okay, we have a nest already.
Yeah, we do.
So, now it's a huge thing. Oh, they have a lord one.
My spirit pulls me back to battle.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh shit, everybody's dying. Everybody's dying. No, no, oh.
Eh, it is what it is. Damn it, I pressed the same button for that teleport.
Yeah, Wanda has an ult.
Anyone willing to help? Better stop that vehicle! Back in the hunt. Shields up! Good timing! Perfect synergy! Go through! Feeling better. I sense them. Close. He stopped them in their tracks.
Spider-Man.
Probably holds himself to a higher standard.
Back in the hunt.
Great power.
Give me cover hard enough. Oh, the penny bomb is behind us. Penny gun. Nice.
He stopped them in their tracks.
Yeah, we're going too far. Oh shit. Damn. We're gonna die.
I think we'll realize we're going too far now because everyone's gonna fucking die.
Quick free zone. Fox on the run.
Okay. Well,
Come on, can I live? Can I live?
Time.
I live. Barely.
Feeling fantastic. I'm hit. Cover me. Better stop that vehicle. Extra shielding. Keep your hit harder.
what is our plan with that? Oh, motion.
Stop them.
But not yet.
Ah.
Oh, fuck.
Alright. I'm gonna have ult. So I can at least get like one of those in.
I died too.
Don't give them another inch.
It's off the penny of Iron Man right now. flying
This
back
guy's
to
ass.
spawn.
This guy's ass.
Hunt resumes.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Yo,
How quaint.
this guy actually sold.
Hex!
If he stayed on that, I could have ult it. Oh, whatever. It's not really worth it, so he sold a little bit there.
Damn. That's crazy.
I guess it really was our tanks.
Was it? Our,
I'd say so.
our one tank that was Captain America, and then our Penny Parker that was a Moon Knight before. That was ass at Moon Knight. I think.
Damn, we had a Moon Knight.
Yeah, you remember Big Weasel, bro?
I remember the name, I don't remember the impact.
There was none. That's why you only remember the name.
Tough.
You'll need a top-notch team to win this
That
one.
happens. Yo,
Yo, is that
Cockatoo?
Kakuja?
Wait, what? Wait, what?
Kakuja?
Kakuja.
Yo, no way.
No
Who's
way.
Kakuja?
Who's ready to go?
That's him, bro. He's right there.
Like, what's that a reference to, though? I mean,
Let me Google it for you, bro.
just a bro's
Tokyo
name.
Ghoul, I guess.
What's with people using the superscript font for their
I'm
names?
absolutely
30
going to
seconds
need
before you
attention,
attack.
bro.
Get ready.
They're trying to be different, bro.
That's some
Fair
deadly
enough.
aim you got there, Sheriff. You a member of the Assassin's Guild?
No, when it comes to the hunt, we
Motherfucker
Bloodstones
just
have
trying
always
to
been
be
freelancers.
different.
He's the type of person that would have like started doing push-ups at the Grade 9 retreat for no fucking reason.
The battle starts in 5, 4,
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. You have to stop them from securing the mission area.
You know what Sam Swoop is up to these days?
Bro.
He was so easy to rage bait.
Thanks for the
Yeah.
love, love.
What did you rage baiting about, bro?
I can't recall anything specific. I think Arjun would rage bait him a lot though. And I find it very humorous.
Oh, you're obviously you're bystander. You're bystander.
Something like that. No, I didn't able to.
Okay, okay. Best of both of them. Yo, let's go deactivate my team up, okay? Oh my god, bro.
Diablo's hungry!
What if I needed that? I definitely needed that because I died.
Thank you very much.
My hunt's not over yet.
Freaking seriously, bro. Where the fuck?
Come straight off.
Dodge this way!
Holy fuck, bro.
Ah, it's just
You need to stop
How
that
annoying do
vehicle
they
in
want
its
to be, bro?
tracks.
Bloodstones.
Because we can get annoying.
Hello, my
Yeah, I
name's
was
Dorothy
thinking, like,
Green,
perhaps
and it makes
Loki,
me sad when
'cause we
people
have the
don't
Mantis.
listen to animals.
but they do have a Moon Knight who's already
There's that
5-0,
vehicle.
but still, perhaps. But whatever, I could just keep grinding for Lord. That's what I'm gonna do.
Just get your reps in, bro.
Yeah.
Tougher battles.
We have Portal Boy on our team, not Portal Man, so like,
I mean, you already portal. Definitely something.
Damn it, never fall!
okay,
Holy
y'all focus me.
my. Okay, Adam's dead. Oh, then Lord Magneto with the Lord
I'm not
Gumbus.
done with this
Okay.
fight.
Don't worry.
There's still a chance to stop them.
Group up, yeah, so the fucking...
We got who said that midnight, bro?
It's my way. The moon
Oh, bro, get this fucking door out of my way.
I unleash the Vishanti's power.
Double kill! That's 3! It's
A squirrel?
Again.
I don't give a fuck if you're born again, however many times, bro. The squirrels don't get you. The squirrels don't get you.
We showed them there.
You best check this.
Moon Knight's around the corner.
You stopped the
Yo.
He's on some bullshit, bro. Thinks I don't see him.
I'm energized. I appreciate you.
Someone's a little bit ahead.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
Yeah, this isn't good.
We're back.
Is
Right
it-
to the top.
No one else went. Ah.
Oh fuck, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to just. I wanted to show this again, but I was better.
Now might be
Yeah,
your
it's
time
not.
to
It's a
stop
Magneto
at.
gap, bro. That's not your fault.
No, I do think I am playing like well.
Better stop that vehicle.
Yeah, he's going way. Yeah, it's our tanks are playing way too aggressive.
Enemy in front of us.
That last big
Can't believe I have to do this, bro. This is what it's come to.
What are you doing?
Rain rot scroll, bro. Gameplay, bro.
Nah, I'm gonna go back to.
Come on,
I'm
man.
gonna go back to Invisible Woman.
Oh, I didn't do it again. The onk.
Hello's like kind of behind.
You needed some help, didn't you?
So bad.
Who?
The Magneto. Like, he was pushing up when he has like no health.
I unleash the Vishanti's
Bot
power.
ass teammates, bro.
Slow down.
Fight alone.
Clean up your toys, Mr. Spectre. My power grows.
Like, why is he so ahead?
I would turn around if I were
I am wounded.
you. The wrath of Asgard. The moon haunts you. I am very wounded. Slow down.
Fuck, bro. Moon Knight's arms blend in with this fucking like sand color.
Awaken the rage of battle.
Oh my guy's so bad.
Not good. Not good. Not good. Not good. Not good. I'm dead. Fuck.
I was gonna go to
Is
invisible.
opening a portal? Yo, portal boys up to some
Thor,
shenanigans.
Odin, God of thunder. My power grows. Look out.
Friends, gather around. I am ready to put on a show.
Luna altered.
Anyone willing to help? Punch is gonna be very
Forget about it.
Okay. We got Wanda.
Slow down. Behold the God of thunder.
Holy shit. You good? Right there.
Yeah. It's just annoying.
Awaken the rage of battle.
Oh, fuck.
A worthy foe. 'Twas but a stretch. Battle fury burns. I unleash the moon haunts you.
Only 60 seconds left.
Oh, what the fuck am I cooking, bro?
Hey, I mean, whatever it was, it worked.
I am strengthened for battle. The lightning of Asgard returns.
That's actually super good, bro. That was so. From their part, that was actually really good on them.
Really? Okay, I mean, I wasn't really.
The Moon Knight, our Strange ulted on like 3 people, and the Moon Knight ulted on the exact same thing. About it. Please, Moon Knight ult. That's really good.
That's crazy. I've never heard of that happening.
The wrath of Asgard.
Shields up.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit premature with that, to be honest.
No, that's good. That's good.
Lightning confinement.
Oh, fuck.
Let's keep fighting until we have a winner.
Holy fuck, dude.
The lightning of Asgard returns.
Don't give them another inch. Or a
Behold the God of thunder!
double KO.
Asgard's lightning. Slow down.
Damn, we won.
Another epic victory.
Yeah. Well, we had to bring out
Fine.
some big guns on them.
One more. It's not the end of the world. I think I can do one more. It's because I have to go to the office tomorrow, but it's not really that big of a deal.
Office, bro.
Like, at the same time, like, I really don't give a fuck about working here long term, so honestly, I should just go late. Send a message.
Honestly, if you just bring coffee, like, nobody will bat an eye if you're late, bro. Because, you know, the fucking Timmy's hang.
Pick your hero.
Oh no! Oh please,
Or
no,
villain.
no,
I'm
no
not
need to do too
judging.
much. Yeah, I think as long as yeah, please, it's not.
I'm just-
No, I should go down and like tell them to put it on the blue cat card.
I'm not a
Yeah,
hero.
yeah,
I'm
and
the
then bring up the
Punisher.
food.
Yeah. That's more accurate.
We just bomb the building. What?
Bomb the building. 360
So
Widow
what?
snipes only, bro? Listen, man, that's... We all know that's not happening. You can barely hit them without having to do 360, bro. Let's calm down, buddy.
Who said that?
I'll fight this war
Is it like
against
Sahal or like
until
someone
I
else?
You wouldn't know, bro. You wouldn't know. Not as someone we know in real life.
30 seconds before you attack.
Sahal's never on these days ever at all. You know?
I think it's just busy.
Is he playing League?
Yeah, I think he's playing League, bro.
You could be an excellent spot.
Not at this current moment in time, but
Currently, I'm more interested in fighting against our common foes.
probably recently.
When this battle is won,
Oh, they got Percy 30, bro. Perky 30, Red 40.
the battle starts in 5.
Just gotta take advantage of the fact that her fucking bullets ricochet. And she has a fair bit of range.
All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
now brings nothing.
Yeah.
And I wish I played her when she first came out. I know I've said that 1,000 times, but I really just wish I played her.
When she was
Yeah, exactly. I'm an MVP like every fucking
when
game.
is next repo? That's a good question. That's gonna go wrong person. Unless you want to run a 2-man repo. Level 50 at least. Yeah, that's all you need.
Smoke up.
Enemy located.
I didn't even press that button. Where everybody goes.
Mission area is yours.
This also might be some of the worst Punisher gameplay you've ever seen in your life.
Smoke screen.
Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Wait, Spider. I thought it was on the shotgun. Lord help me. Lord have mercy. Give me the fucking shotgun. Holy fuck. That's what I'm... No.
Spider-Man really wants me.
You blame him?
Yeah, I mean, Invisible is just thick as a motherfucker.
I don't like how the Spider-Man is moving. Oh man, he got the health
You've
back.
captured more than half of the mission area. Keep going.
I don't know if I have to do that, but I wanted to.
Battlefield ready again. For the rear.
Oh hell no.
Yeah, I could have used that more defensively.
Listen, listen, listen.
Step aside. Farewell.
I'm not done yet.
Nobody promised you this was gonna be good gameplay.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man! Berserker! Rage!
Who the fuck is my team? Why are you all over the place?
I just, I was killed, now I'm coming back.
I'm scared. The person pursuing me.
I'm good to go.
You'll have to keep fighting until we have a winner.
Oh, he's back. I'm expecting diamond-worthy gameplay? No. Not on every character. That's the thing that you were getting at.
It would have been kind of hard for me to save you there.
But not
Don't worry
today.
about me, bro. Don't worry about the enemy team capturing the fucking... the thing.
Maybe I could have saved you. I chose to heal myself, to be honest.
Oh, you know Pocket Strands there?
I can just about see how
Did
this
not know
thing
that she had
put some
that.
pep in my step.
Extended my
Alright.
deployment.
Look at him, is your mom broke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bros hate him.
Smoke screen. I'm good to go.
Oh, alright. Ain't no free meal.
Alright. You're doing too much now.
Yeah. Gotta back up a little bit.
Get on point.
Judge! Jury!
Who's left?
Probably didn't have to do all that.
Don't mess with the amazing
No way.
I think it might have been necessary. Holy fuck, dude. Where'd this guy come from?
Don't mess with the amazing.
Very fucking Venom.
This is
Did we get it?
You'll have
Did we
to
do
keep
it?
fighting until we have a winner.
Well, Spider-Man is been a problem.
Best at what you do, Logan.
Got it though.
Nice.
Yeah.
Then the Spider-Man hasn't died yet?
Oh, that's kind of nuts.
Weapons are tools.
Yo,
And
he's
I'm a
lucky we
master
don't have
craftsman.
Namor Arjun with us.
Hmm.
That guy's a problem.
Need a problem.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
Out of sight.
Sorry. It's time to play the game.
I gotta master the range on her
Yeah,
pull and push.
honestly. Yeah,
The
you're
battle
right,
starts in 5, 4, 3,
My aim was good. Spider-Man
2,
would be dead.
1. All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
Oh, I'm playing.
What is Victor?
Other than Namor, who else is like anti-dive?
Heavy
And like
weapons.
Penny, I guess.
I mean, Sting. If I had a turret, I could just do absolutely nothing from a distance instead of doing absolutely nothing from up close. Whoa, what happened here, dude? Whoa, Spider-Man. I just was talking with fucking shotgun, you bitch. Hold on, I need to log in. Now you made it a problem. I was just casually
Extended my
sitting there,
deployment.
and then he had to go and make it a problem. Fuck this Spider-Man. Oh my god. What the fuck? Yo, what the?
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. I
Honestly,
tried.
yeah, there's not a lot of things I could have done in that situation, dude.
This is not over.
Yeah, it looks like they just like a couple of them got you.
Yeah, something like that. Something like a couple of them.
Alright. An idea. We're gonna go on it.
Yeah,
and get the
okay,
point.
okay.
Disappear!
Oh. See, they had a similar idea, except on the more defensive side of things.
Okay, so yeah, here's the thing that they're fucking thinking the wall just fell, so I'm not even doing that.
Battlefield ready again.
I'm scared of Spider-Man that's gonna talk to me.
Their team's
I'm actually scared.
past the halfway point.
Oh, you're chasing me? I'm getting chased. I'm getting chased. I'm getting chased and my aim is not good. Oh, okay. We did it. We did something.
Watch me soar!
Oh my god, bro. No way.
Heads up.
Not Spider-Man. Oh, fuck.
Don't mess with the amazing
Oh my
Spider-Man.
god, bro. I'm not trying to mess with you, bro. You are actually Stiff link. Ah. Stiffy. I'm getting cooked right now.
Extended my deployment.
Spider-Man is locked in.
Or do you have to get like an objective with or a trophy with Punisher or something?
No? Why, you want me to change characters?
No, I was just wondering.
I have all the achievements in this game, bro. Don't question that, bro. Don't worry, I'll switch characters just for you, bro.
Do what your heart contends.
Right is right, and wrong is wrong.
That didn't sound too convincing.
It's quick play. Who cares?
Embrace the dock. 30 seconds before you attack.
Because I was just
Get
like,
ready.
you know, maybe there's a reason you like you keep getting fucked by the Spider-Man. You know, like what if you are doing it for something?
No, he's just fucking me,
Wanna
bro.
put that to the
Yeah, he's just doing it.
Right
They have a Venom
now,
as well,
we're
so
on
I mean,
the
like,
same
they're.
side.
I mean, that's just the thing, man.
Getting
Dive is so
harder
strong
and
this
harder
season.
to keep track these days.
Amit's missing out, man. Like, I don't know why he's not playing.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3.
Gotta put him in. You know what we need to put him in.
I'm bitch made as fuck. Yeah, you bitch made, bro. I can't fight.
I don't think I could.
And we'll make him do the dance on your stream. That'll get the views up.
Put Ambit and Chanel live on stream.
Exactly. We gotta get the views one way or another, right?
Yeah.
Judge, jury, executioner!
Oh, the fucking floor fell.
Looks like the mission area is yours to capture now.
Okay. Okay.
The mission area is yours.
You say you love me, put him in jail. How you say you love me, you put him in jail.
No worries. I've got your back.
Good medicine.
My shields are down. Shields up!
I just did that to
Wow,
be
that was
honest.
necessary. All good.
Next victim. An unseen assist.
Call agreed.
I'll call it something, bro.
He's one shot, yeah.
Demon. Anyone willing to help? You've captured more than half of the mission area. Keep going.
The fuck? Invis.
Somebody- I hear him.
It's invis.
They will. Good medicine.
Disappear!
Oh, that's actually a good ult.
An unseen
Oh, we should get the wherever that penny nest is. We should
Behind this wall.
Tag the foe. Hunt them.
Or a dagger.
Holy fuck, dude. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah, they got me.
Area's almost yours!
Power beyond sight.
No way, dude.
No, I died. Yeah.
Don't. Oh.
We got Spider-Man.
That bitch. Let's go.
As long as he dies, honestly, like that's half our fucking Sora right there. Okay, we're probably not gonna get objective back right now.
Fucking dead.
We need to
Yeah, let's just fall
disappear.
back. One good push and we win.
Exactly what happened the first round, bro.
The mystic arts won't fail me again.
Let's get this freaking Spider-Man out of here. Oh, that's a bomb. Okay, we're gonna have to break this
Good
nest.
medicine.
No one see them.
Hang it.
It's
Here is
over
the
there
prize we
somewhere.
seek. Our mission has led us to this spot.
It's on the wall that we can't see that the other side of. So I don't know how else to describe it.
It's kind of tough because we keep getting. It's
Yeah.
whatever. We just gotta get one decent hit.
Oh, fuck, I got gold. Okay, I got pushed back.
Okay.
Unseen assist.
Their team's capture progress has passed the halfway
By the
point.
eye of Agamotto.
What? The bomb's all gone.
These mechanical
The
alarms.
bombs.
The nest is gone. I'm dead.
Bombs killed me while I was ulting. That was pretty tough.
Oh, that's what happened here.
Yeah.
mystic
'Cause
arts
I just
won't
got
fail
close
me
and then the
again.
bomb's gonna instantly, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No one asked for that penny buff, bro.
Invisible?
No, I don't think they did.
Our enemies have
More than that, fucking both.
I think it's because she's Asian. Like, he noticed that there was like some of the Asian characters were ridiculously powerful.
an unseen assist.
Can you kill her? That was I might have lost. Damn. Honestly, I kind of sold both my ults right
Holy
now, so I'd take responsibility for it.
Brennan can hold it down. Oh, Penny ult with the freaking nest open? Yeah, I don't know, bro.
Sorcerer Supreme returns. I'm opening a portal.
No, he pulled me! Yeah, it's over.
Fuck.
That's tough. That's a tough one.
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
Damn.
Alright, this is for realsies gonna be my last one. I'm gonna pop like half a melatonin so I can sleep faster too.
Here you go.
Yeah, that was close, but that's
Yeah.
my fault.
Nah, it's all good. SVP. Tried our best.
Nah, I should have done better. 2 ults that were like a non-factor.
I mean, still got
One was cockiness.
Spider-Man carry?
Yep.
Yeah, this guy was doing a lot, bro. And then they got the magic on top of that, dude. That's when they're doing a lot, bro.
They did have like an AFK for a little bit, so like that was to our advantage. We should have pressed the attack.
Yeah, the magic was the sub. I don't know who they had before that, but it was working for
It
them.
was meh.
Alright, one more.
Yeah.
Alright. Last one, guys.
We're gonna make it count.
Pick your hero. Or villain. I'm not judging.
Alright. DPS pool and a Lord Widow. Okay.
We like to see.
Okay. Spider-Man and this one.
Open your
Level
eyes.
level
Reality
17
is but an
as
illusion.
Invisible Woman now.
I think I'm also level 17 stock pushing. Maybe 8.
Look at us.
Look at us. I think that makes
No
us
lifing this shit.
gay.
When science
I think
failed
so.
me,
I mean that was a
magic
no.
there.
Yo, who's Gare? Amit or Alan? What do you think?
I think it gotta be
Usually
Alan. I
30
think it has
seconds
to be
before you
Alan. I think it
attack.
has to be Alan.
Get ready.
It really is every match. What is this guy
So
yapping
you
about,
just
bro?
waved those jacked up hands of yours around and poof.
My spells require very precise hand
3
motions to
DPS?
cast
What is that
correctly.
yapping?
Oh, I've got some signature hand motion.
It's kind of like how Anthony Edwards is
believe
really
it would
known
be
for his
best for
dunk.
all
Oh, solo
just-
tank.
He's still a
Bro, what's this guy
Feel
complaining about
decent.
solo tanking? It's not even the solo
3,
tank.
2, 1.
What?
All you need to do
What?
is capture the mission area. Got it?
This bro's
Go take
waffling,
that.
bro.
You're doing too much.
What's that yapping about? We both have
Probably
a
because we
spider.
have a Black Widow, so he's like tilted.
A Lord Black Widow, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
put
mean
some
like,
respect on that. And it's not just like the
Gotta
level
be
20
decent.
Lord, it's like more than like that, bro.
yeah, it's like level 30. 300 out, not 300, probably 200.
200 hours on level 30, bro?
Maybe 150 then. Yeah, no, yeah.
That's like less than half.
You think so?
Oh, just had to pull me off the map. Oh, they have
Mortal
Lord,
pain
Super
is
Lord
no
Spider-Man
match
on
for the
this one.
Sorcerer Supreme.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Interesting stuff, guys.
Rogues right here.
Creatures have risen from the realm below. I am strengthened.
Look at that.
Fine. It's kind of tough because they're
Another full
Spider-Man is quite tough this one.
All good.
I think
We got
done with
some motion.
there.
We got our swagger back.
We make a pretty good team.
Alright. Spider-Man's still alive somewhere?
good medicine.
It might also be a Spider-Man Death Loki.
You've captured more than half.
Oh, a little bit of
You know, Damn. Just trying to like run away. I don't know if you saw
An
that.
unseen assist. By the fangs of Ferala.
Thank you.
That was a fine battle.
Okay, Black Widow, 5-1. Holy.
Was a Black Widow that's really
They think they're hella, bro. That's all that matters. Oh shit.
Oh. The fact that I lived is crazy.
By the eye of Agamotto.
I thought they were gonna push that one. Like,
Okay, I guess we're actually moving else. I thought I was hidden.
okay, they're off point.
Ionic magic. You lack strength for this encounter.
Very
Holy
nice.
bro. I fucked up my ult, I can't lie. I only got like one person. And then they just got healed immediately.
Better than my last. Not this ult, but my 2 ults before that. I think this ult was decent. I defended a lot.
I quietly put out. You have no idea.
Forgive Invis.
I'm 7. Oh yeah, I know what he's talking about.
30 seconds before you attack.
What is
Get ready.
happening about?
Really, Eddie?
Yeah, their hello's not very
All
good.
the times you've tried to ruin
He's
my
like 3 or 4 of his bullets against her.
Yeah, I was
Battle
just
starts
shield
in
on point,
5,
just trying to hold it
4,
down.
3,
I got Rogue trying to beat my ass at the same
1.
time.
All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
I'm glad I brought along an extra deck of cards.
Okay, maybe it isn't a Spider-Man diff. Maybe they're both just
What have
bad.
you summoned now, Namor? I am strengthened for that.
Given the
The
more.
mission area is yours to capture now. The mission area is yours. Even
Holy dive.
Power beyond sight.
You try and get near me. I mean, with Rogue and Spider-Man in the background, it's kind of
my
tough.
ass. Touch
By the shades of the Seraphim, I return.
I'll go to I believe in us.
Oh my god, are they just fucking waiting for me?
Probably.
Yeah, might have actually been.
I cast you back to the depths.
Just at the corner, like, Namor and Spider-Man. Just waiting.
My fault, I went too deep by myself.
That's the problem. But also I feel
Mortal pain is no match for the Sorcerer Supreme.
Are you fucking serious? Yeah, they're pissing me off a little bit now.
Their team's capture progress has passed the halfway point. As usual,
Lock the fuck in, dog? Yeah, I'm trying my best, man. This Rogue and the Spider-Man combo is actually
It's a problem.
In front of us. An unseen
Oh,
assist.
Rogue at least.
oh my god. More like one shot.
I don't know if our team's gonna be able to do anything
More
like
dead.
that.
Oh, no skill shot.
We might have done something there.
I think 50 to 5 stat. Yeah,
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man.
thinks he highly of me. Can I hit this guy? Can I hit this guy one time? Holy fuck, dude.
An unseen assist.
Oh, hell no. Get the goods, get the goods, get the goods.
I was really trying to.
By the eye of Agamotto. An unseen assist. Needed help.
Very nice.
Bitch.
You captured
There we
more
go.
than half of the mission area.
To keep
There we
Keep
go.
going.
I know.
You got them all.
Another falls to the Sorcerer Supreme. I am strengthened for battle. Mon Dieu, that hurt.
You get a weapon! You get a weapon! You get a weapon!
Wild creatures have risen from the realm below.
The area's almost
Wild
yours.
creatures return to the seas at once.
Perhaps a little bit. I'm gonna save the ult just in case.
Our enemies are near.
We're better than they are.
I am strengthened for battle.
Let's
Very
go.
nice. It's a good game to end it off on. I mean, being a bit selfish here, but I don't know how I wasn't the ace. But alas,
This game never falls.
the guy was saying
23,000
allow
healing?
me.
Damn.
23, yeah, I mean, 5k more healing, I guess. We'll do that. Now skin is too seductive, so fair enough.
Fair
I
enough.
mean, it like helps you get more
Pregnant?
progression towards.
Oh.
That too. That,
Oh,
what was it?
oh.
Great progression, pregnant. I mean, it's tomato
Yeah.
tomato.
Tomato tomorrow, yeah, exactly.
Good runs though. I'll see you one of these days soon.
Alright.
Later, man.
Later.
Good night.
Alright. Well, chat. I guess we call it there.